Great. Really nice to talk to everyone today. I'm opening a really short run through of funding opportunities and thoughts about funding with a slide that's all about some of our funding successes in the area. So all the businesses pictured on this first slide were successful in securing leader funding from the EU leader programme. So Fen Farm Dairy with the Baron Bygod cheese, Flint Vineyard, Havensfield Eggs with their liquid egg, and Swannington Farm to Fork, whose delicious meat is stocked at Fielding Cottage, I'm delighted to say, were all successful in the leading funding programme, as were many other of our food businesses. At the other end of the scale of funding successes in the food sector in our area, this is Condimentum, which many of you will know about, a mustard and mint milling facility on the Food Enterprise Park at Honningham Thorpe, which is now open and operating, and had a cocktail of funding from the EU Rural Growth Programme and from the LEP Zone programmes as well. So various programs that we either coordinate or are involved in operating, or that we operate ourselves, have been instrumental in projects big and small in the food sector in this area. So where are we with funding at the moment? Well, it's an uncertain and volatile scene, as with many aspects of other aspects of life. A downside to start with is that the rural economy funding that we've been used to for many years from DEFRA, from LEADER and the Rural Growth Programme, has now finished, and that is it for that funding. There's been a lot of talk of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, which is the name given to the government for what they've said will replace these EU national funds, but we are not really anywhere very much with what that will look like or when it will come on stream. So there is a gap in that type of funding. However, the new Anglia Growth Hub provides access to a number of LEP grant programs, which I'll go through in a second, and signpost to other programs that are potentially helpful for food businesses. And they also help food businesses negotiate the quagmire of issues arising from access to banking loans and equity investment of all kinds, so not just looking at grants. On the way, however, we have, and I will come on to these at the end of my quick presentation, we have the Food Innovation Centre project, which is a huge opportunity for businesses in our area, and the Drive project, which is also potentially very, very useful for food businesses. So there's some good stuff coming too. The new Anglia Growth Hub, or those on the call who are not familiar with this service, is a really, really key service for all of our businesses in this area, providing free, impartial, confidential advice to businesses. The contact details are on several of these slides and you'll receive them afterwards, and helping businesses get access to grants and finance of all kinds, as well as helping businesses to negotiate the raft of regulation, not just standard regulation, but all the new regulation that's come out of the COVID-19 outbreak. And I think it's worth just pausing to say that ever since the pandemic started, we have been working across all district councils, county councils, and the LEP, working with the Growth Hub to ensure that there is one single script that advisors operate to, which is updated weekly with the most up-to-date guidance, information from government. All of that sort of wash of information is filtered and sorted and arranged, so when you ask a question we can go to the right answer to that question and it's current. So that's been going on ever since March and has been really valued by the businesses who've dealt with the Growth Hub. Some of the grant schemes that we have, these come from the ERDF EU funding programme, which is separate from all of the funding that goes to through the Common Agricultural Policy to farming businesses. So many of you will be aware that there's has always been a real wall in funding between funding for farmers and funding for other stuff. And it does mean that there are possibly some of you on the call who will have projects that are not going to work for some of these schemes because you're too much on the farming side, and it's also the case that some retail schemes are not eligible for some of this funding. But the most important thing is get in touch with the Growth Hub if you have a project, and they can help you with all of that rather than me try and set out all the nitty-gritty rules and regulations. So our small grant scheme is grants from £1 to £25,000 up to 20% of your project value. My colleagues in the Growth Hub team have worked really, really hard to get the most simple possible form and process for this scheme and to help people work through it. So even if you're a bit allergic to application forms, this is a reasonably simple one to go for and very much helped a lot of businesses. We also have, for larger projects, the Growing Business Fund that's continuing to distribute grants or coming very close to the end of the pot of money we currently have. However, still potentially opportunities for larger projects to secure funding. We have a new program called the Growth Through Innovation Fund. And again, Growth Hub advisors will point you to this if this is the right fund for your project. But it will support at a much higher proportion of your project costs some innovation and research and development projects that could help food businesses that are trying to do some new stuff, particularly around, say, research coming out of Norwich Research Park or new products that you're looking at. It doesn't necessarily have to be desperately whizzy innovation. It could be innovation as in stuff your kind of business hasn't done before. So it's really worth talking to the Growth Hub about that one. We also have, and this has been immensely popular, the Business Resilience and Recovery Scheme, which we put out at the beginning of lockdown, grants from £25,000 to £50,000 with a higher intervention rate, 50% of project costs, which provide capital funding for projects that are helping to repurpose your business in the light of the pandemic, and also help with a bit of consultancy to steer you through that process. It's a really quick turnaround. We've had a lot of grants go through that pot already. We'll send you links to our website. One of the really useful things to look on our website and ask if you can't find it is we have lots of lists of funded projects, and that's always helpful to look at, I think, with these schemes. So there's the new Anglia Growth Hub. Contact details, as I say, you'll have those afterwards. Always important to contact them. They will point you to these projects that are on the next screen if they think these projects are going to be helpful to you. But I thought it's just worth making you aware of some of the other kinds of projects that are around that could be useful to you. So Be Anglia, which is operated by Suffolk County Council on behalf of a partnership, helps businesses do a free energy review of how they use energy, and offers grant funding towards energy efficiency projects of up to £20,000. And Invest East might be relevant for some of your businesses. It's an investor-led program helping businesses with a really intensive program of support and guidance to get investment ready for equity investment. They're just two of the other projects that are around, but as I say, the Growth Hub's the best starting point. However, if you think either of these is of interest, there are the web links. Do have a look. Coming soon, this is going to be a really, really useful project for quite a number of you, I hope, and it's due to launch in towards the end of this year or the very beginning of next year. This is an ERDF grant scheme from Norfolk County Council in partnership with Suffolk County Council, called DRIVE, Delivering Rural Investment, Vital Employment, another fabulous acronym there. And DRIVE is a successor really to the LEADER program, which many of you will be familiar with. LEADER is finishing. The LEADER teams at the county councils were deeply frustrated by that because they've got some brilliant staff and brilliant expertise in this area. They see a need for grant funding and business support for rural businesses specifically. So they've gone to the ERDF funding program, and Drive will support and enable an in-depth business planning process with a mentor from the Drive program who will help you look across your business for what the capital investment needs might be and the business planning needs, and help you develop a project in quite a detailed way. And at the end of that process, you can go for a capital grant of between £5,000 and £30,000 at 40% of your total costs. You have to invest the rest, and the grant decisions will be made by local people, as with the Leader program. So it's very much a new fund from the Leader program teams. However, because it's from a different funding program, they won't be able to support farms other than in some diversification projects may be eligible, and retail projects may be an issue as well. But processing businesses, absolutely, Drive will be able to support you. It's going to be a really fabulous project. And finally is the Food Innovation Centre, which I and others on this call are heavily involved in developing and getting through the funding and development process. We will very, very soon be able to start sharing images of what the centre could look like and fun stuff like that. This will be at the Food Enterprise Park near Norwich, but it is a regional project and intended to be so. And you'll see on the slide a list of the partners with Broadland District Council leading it, but UEA, Hethel Innovation, Quadram Institute and others very much involved in its development. Huge support, for example, from Valerie, who's just spoken earlier, and her invaluable access to and kind of credibility with food businesses in the area is going to be absolutely essential to this project. The new centre is due to be built next year, believe it or not, start being built, with a linked programme of innovation activity in food businesses. And what that means is we will have lettable food grade businesses in a fabulous prestigious setting with access to a central hub building. We will have bespoke innovation support to food businesses from all of these partner organisations, including the likes of Andrew Fern you've just heard from earlier, and that will be free support to businesses. And we will also be working, UEA will be working particularly to develop a cluster to try to get food businesses together more, working together and collaborating to make our sector really, really strong. The project will also enable more collaboration with Norwich Research Park and so on. Do get in contact with us if you'd like to be on our mailing list for Food Innovation Centre news or hear what's going on. Do also get in contact with us, and absolutely fine to contact me. My contact details will be available after this event. As food businesses, we are also really dependent on your business intelligence and your feeding into us what's going on for your businesses in terms of what we say to government about this sector. So, and it does go right to the highest levels of government. So if you want your voice to be heard in terms of what's going on for your business and what support you think you need from government, can't promise we can make stuff happen, but we can make sure your voice is heard. So do get in touch with stuff that's going on, how things are for you, support or issues that you think are needed for your sector.